A chilling curse haunts Hollywood's Superman legacy. Two names stand out among the tragic fates of actors who wore the iconic cape. George Reeves, star of Adventures of Superman from 1952 to 1958, died from a self-inflicted wound at age 45. Christopher Reeve became paralyzed from the neck down after a devastating horse-riding accident in 1995. The Superman curse remains mysterious despite official rulings. Officials declared George Reeves's death a suicide, but controversy lingers since investigators never found his fingerprints on the gun. Christopher Reeve's life changed forever after he fell from his horse during an equestrian event. He portrayed the superhero in 4 theatrical films from 1978 to 1987. His death came in 2004 at age 52, and his wife Dana passed away 2 years later. The pattern of Superman actors' deaths seems more than coincidental. The curse gained momentum after the character's revival for movie audiences in 1978. Many more instances of misfortune have surrounded people connected to the franchise. If you believe in the Superman curse, then comment 1 below or comment 0 if not. This video will uncover the mysterious circumstances behind these tragedies and explore possible explanations. We'll also see if modern Superman actors have broken free from this legendary hex. Begin of the tragic. Christopher Reeve's rise to fame was not a story of instant stardom. Born on September 25, 1952 in New York City and raised in Princeton, New Jersey, Reeve came from an academically accomplished family. His father was a teacher and novelist, and his mother was a journalist. From an early age, Reeve showed a passion for the arts. He began acting in school productions by the time he was 9 and quickly discovered a natural talent for performance. But he never took that talent for granted, he honed it rigorously. After attending the prestigious Princeton Day School, Reeve went on to Cornell University, where he majored in English and performed in over a dozen plays. His dedication to acting led him to Juilliard, one of the most respected performing arts schools in the world. There, he studied under the legendary John Houseman and alongside future stars like Robin Williams. Though he was classically trained and admired, Shakespeare Reeve had no illusions about how difficult it would be to make a name in show business. After Juilliard, he found modest success on stage and television. He appeared in soap operas including Love of Life and took on small roles in theater productions. It was a grinding period filled with auditions, rejections, and financial struggle. But Reeve stayed the course. Then, in 1977, opportunity came knocking in the most unexpected form, a casting call for a movie based on a comic book character, Superman. At first, Reeve wasn't taken seriously for the part. He was relatively unknown, lacked the bulk expected of a superhero, and had never headlined a major film. But director Richard Donner saw something in him, a sincerity and duality that could bring both Superman and Clark Kent to life. Reeve won the role, but not without work. He threw himself into the transformation, gaining over 30 pounds of muscle through a rigorous training regimen with former British weightlifting champion David Prowse, who physically portrayed Darth Vader in Star Wars. When Superman, the movie, debuted in 1978, Reeves' performance was met with widespread acclaim. He brought heart humor and humanity to the iconic role, and the film became a global sensation. Overnight, Reeve went from struggling actor to international star. Yet he remained grounded. Despite being typecast, for a time he pursued diverse roles in film, theater, and television, from the romantic drama Somewhere in Time to the political satire Speechless and beyond. Christopher Reeve's rise wasn't built on luck alone. But all his relentless effort was paid by a tragic death. George Reeves sparks the Superman curse myth. The legend of the Superman curse began with a mysterious death that shook Hollywood. George Reeves, who first brought Superman to television screens, died under puzzling circumstances that still baffle investigators and fans 60-plus years later. A single gunshot broke the silence of George Reeves' Benedict Canyon home in Los Angeles during the early hours of June 16, 1959. The 45-year-old actor had played Superman in the hit TV series Adventures of Superman from 1952 to 1958. Police found him dead in his upstairs bedroom. They quickly ruled it a suicide, but this decision sparked immediate controversy and became the foundation of what people now call the Curse of Superman. That night, Reeves came home with his fiancée Leonore Lemon around 11 p.m. He went to bed while Lemon stayed downstairs with guests. Around 1 a.m., Reeves came down briefly to ask everyone to keep the noise down before heading back to his room. The events that followed remain disputed. Lemon made an eerie prediction to her guests: he's going upstairs to shoot himself. Minutes later, they heard a gunshot. Nobody called the police for 45 minutes. Police found several disturbing details at the scene. Reeves lay naked on his bed with a Luger pistol at his feet. The bullet had gone through his right temple, out to the left side of his head, and stuck in the ceiling. Though officials quickly called it suicide, thinking Reeves felt hopeless about his failing career, many strange clues pointed to something else. The gun had no fingerprints. Reeves's hands showed no gunpowder residue. The spent shell casing lay under his body impossible if he had pulled the trigger himself. Witnesses heard just one shot, yet police found evidence of 3 bullets fired from the same gun. These odd details fed into speculation about the Superman actor's death pattern that would become part of Hollywood mythology. 3 main theories try to explain what happened to George Reeves. The official suicide theory. Some point to Reeves' supposed depression from being typecast as Superman and his shrinking career options. The Leonore Lemon theory. Others think Lemon might have shot Reeves by accident during a fight about her late-night party. Her strange comment before the shooting and delayed police call raised red flags. The Mannix connection. The most compelling theory involves Reeves' complicated love life. He had a long affair with Toni Mannix, whose husband Eddie, an MGM executive, allegedly had mob ties. Toni took it hard when Reeves ended things in early 1959. Lois Lane actress Phyllis Coates added another layer of mystery. She said Toni Mannix called her at 4:30 a.m., the morning Reeves died, before news got out. Coates recalled Mannix breathing heavily and saying, "The boy is dead. He's been murdered." This raised questions about Mannix's early knowledge of Reeves' death. Reeves's mother, Helen Besselow, rejected the suicide verdict and brought in famous Hollywood lawyer Jerry Giesler to look deeper. A second autopsy showed unexplained bruises on Reeves's body. Yet, Giesler strangely dropped the case after a month accepting the suicide ruling. The 2006 movie, Hollywoodland, with Ben Affleck playing Reeves, looked at different theories but left the ending open. This film only made people more curious about the Superman curse. Reeves's death remains an unsolved puzzle. Missing evidence and weird behavior from everyone involved keep crime buffs and Superman fans guessing. His tragic end started what would grow into the lasting myth of the cursed Superman bad luck that seemed to follow anyone who wore the famous cape in Hollywood. Christopher Reeve becomes the face of the curse. George Reeves might have started the Superman curse, but Christopher Reeve became its most memorable victim. His legendary portrayal of Superman in 4 films from 1978 to 1987 led to a life-changing event that would tie him to this alleged curse in popular culture. The events of May 27, 1995, changed everything. Reeve was competing in an equestrian event in Culpeper, Virginia. He fell from his horse and suffered a devastating spinal cord injury that paralyzed him from the neck down. The actor, who once represented superhuman strength, now needed a wheelchair and ventilator to live. He was just 42 years old. This tragic accident reshaped people's view of the curse of Superman. George Reeves's death remained mysterious, but Christopher's tragedy played out in front of everyone. People saw the stark difference between Superman's invincibility and the paralyzed actor who once played him. This powerful contrast made the idea of the Superman curse stick in everyone's mind. The curse seemed to affect Reeve even before his accident. After playing Superman, he struggled to land meaningful roles and often ended up in Superman sequels or smaller parts. He tried to break free from his Superman image in the 1982 film Death Trap. The attempt backfired when audiences were shocked by his kiss with Michael Caine. Reeve later called it the $100 million kiss, showing how his Superman role had limited his career. News outlets quickly linked Reeves' accident to the curse of Superman. This story grew stronger after he died on October 10, 2004, at 52. Nobody performed an official autopsy, but his wife Dana and his doctor thought a bad reaction to medication caused his death. The story became even sadder when Dana Reeve died from lung cancer in 2006. She was only 44 and had never smoked. Journalists and entertainment writers use these tragedies as prime examples of cursed Superman actors. The curse story spread to romantic relationships, too. Kate Bosworth, who played Lois Lane in 2006's Superman Returns, blamed the curse for her breakup with Orlando Bloom. These stories, true or not, kept feeding the idea that Superman projects brought bad luck. Christopher Reeve built a legacy more meaningful than his movie career through his response to tragedy. He became a powerful voice for disability rights and spinal cord research. The Christopher Reeve Foundation named him chairman of the board in 1999. After his wife's death, it became the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. Under his guidance, the foundation grew into the leading organization for spinal cord injury research and paralysis support. Reeves' work changed life for people with paralysis. The foundation says, decades ago, life with paralysis offered little hope. Christopher and Dana Reeve turned a community effort into a national movement. His efforts helped challenge old beliefs about spinal cord injuries being permanent. Nothing stopped Reeves' determination. He surprised everyone at the 2000 Academy Awards with a powerful speech supporting disability inclusion. He kept working until his final days in 2004. Reeves' story shows two sides of the Superman curse. His life had terrible tragedy, but his response inspired millions. His legacy exceeds both his famous role and the curse people talk about. His son Matthew said it best, he wanted to prove to everyone that he was a good actor, and I don't think he had the chance to find out. You're Superman. Other Superman actors suffer tragic fates. The Superman curse seems to have claimed more victims in Hollywood than just George and Christopher Reeve. Many actors who wore the cape or had any connection to the franchise faced career problems, personal tragedies, and some even died young. The string of bad luck for cursed Superman actors started before George Reeves. Kirk Alyn became the first actor to play Superman on film, starring in two 15-part movie serials in 1948 and 1950. Rather than boost his career, the role brought it to a standstill. Alyn found that he was too closely linked to the character after Columbia Pictures stopped making Superman serials in 1951. Casting directors couldn't picture him in other roles. Columbia's chief Max Arno told him straight up that audiences wouldn't buy him as anyone except Superman. Playing Superman ruined my acting career, and I've been bitter for many years about the whole thing, Alyn said bluntly. The experience left him so frustrated that he rejected the television Superman role in 1951 in disgust. George Reeves took that part and became another chapter in the Superman curse. Alyn struggled to land good roles through the 1950s and 1960s. He moved to California and worked in TV commercials. I couldn't get another job, he told the Associated Press in 1988. The 1970s brought a small comeback through nostalgia events and comic conventions. He made a brief appearance as Lois Lane's father in the 1978 Superman film with Christopher Reeve, linking two generations of actors who seemed cursed. The curse of Superman showed up again in Lee Quigley's tragic story. Quigley played baby Kal-El, infant Superman, in the 1978 film with Christopher Reeve at just 7 months old. He made history as the first non-American Superman. Life ended way too soon for Quigley. He died in March 1991 at just 14 years old from inhaling solvents. This heartbreaking end for a child actor with such a brief role added another dark chapter to the growing story of Superman actors' deaths. Modern Superman actors still face career hurdles, though the curse of Superman shows up in less deadly ways. Dean Cain hit it big with Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman from 1993 to 1997. His career took a nosedive after the show ended. He picked up a series of smaller roles and guest parts. He hosted Ripley's Believe It or Not, which ran 4 seasons on TBS, but his career never matched its Superman-era peak. B-movies, TV films, and guest spots became Kane's main work. Casting professionals say Superman actors often can't shake off the character's strong impression on audiences, making it hard to land different roles. Brandon Routh's rising star stalled after 2006's Superman Returns. The movie got mostly positive reviews, but poor box office numbers made Warner Brothers cancel 2 planned sequels. What could have launched a franchise turned into a one-time gig. My heart and soul went into that film. When you spend that much time and put in that much passion, it's very hard when people don't love it or even like it, Ruth shared. His career quieted down until he found new life on TV playing the Atom in CW's Legends of Tomorrow. These stories, combined with George and Christopher Reeve's experiences, paint a clear picture of why people keep talking about a curse of Superman that follows anyone who plays this iconic hero. Supporting cast members face personal turmoil. The alleged Superman curse reaches way beyond the reach and influence of those who played the Man of Steel. The curse seems to touch the lives of supporting cast members who never wore the iconic cape. These cast members went through their own personal turmoil that added strength to the narrative of a curse of Superman affecting everyone linked to the franchise. Margot Kidder played the spirited Lois Lane opposite Christopher Reeve and faced most important mental health challenges throughout her life. She experienced what she called mind flights from childhood and tried to take her own life at just 14 years old. Her successful acting career couldn't shield her from these challenges that grew worse over time. Doctors diagnosed Kidder with bipolar disorder in 1988, but she refused treatment and the recommended lithium medication. Her condition took a turn for the worse after a 1990 car accident left her temporarily paralyzed. This led to financial ruin and addiction to pills and alcohol. Her struggles showed up most publicly in April 1996 during a severe manic episode. She became increasingly paranoid and irrational after her computer crashed while writing her memoirs. She threw away her purse, cut off most of her hair, and vanished for several days. Police found her in a paranoid and delusional state living on Los Angeles streets. Kidder later described this whole ordeal as the most public freakout in history. Kidder supported mental health awareness and alternative medicine approaches after her hospitalization. Her battles continued, though. She died at age 69 in her Montana home on May 13, 2018. The coroner determined her death was a self-inflicted drug and alcohol overdose. Kidder herself laughed off the idea of a Superman curse. "That is all newspaper-created rubbish. The idea cracks me up," she said in a 2002 interview. Richard Pryor played computer hacker Gus Gorman in Superman 3, 1983, and went through a dramatic series of personal tragedies that many connect to the Superman curse. Cocaine addiction dominated Pryor's life. His addiction grew so severe that his then-wife, Jennifer Lee, had to leave. "After 2 weeks of watching him getting addicted to this stuff, I moved out. It was clear the drug had moved in and it had become his lover and everything. I did not exist," she said. A horrifying incident occurred on June 9, 1980, when Pryor's drug use led him to douse himself with 151 proof rum and set himself on fire. Some sources say this happened due to an explosion while freebasing cocaine. The result left Pryor with second- and third-degree burns over half his body. He spent 6 weeks recovering at the Grossman Burn Center. Health problems piled up for Pryor after this incident. He had already suffered a mild heart attack in 1997 at age 36. A second heart attack struck in 1990 while he was in Australia. He needed triple bypass surgery the following year. Doctors diagnosed Pryor with multiple sclerosis in 1986, just 3 years after his Superman 3 role. The disease got worse until he needed a mobility scooter for most daily activities. He often joked darkly that MS stood for more shit. He ended up dying from a heart attack on December 10, 2005 at age 60. Marlon Brando played Superman's father Jor-El in the 1978 film and faced devastating personal tragedies that some link to the curse of Superman. Brando's troubles centered on his children's lives, especially his son Christian and daughter Cheyenne. Christian fatally shot Dag Drolet, Cheyenne's boyfriend and her unborn child's father in May 1990. Christian later admitted to manslaughter and received a 5-year prison sentence. Brando testified at the trial and made a heartbreaking admission that he had failed his son and daughter. Cheyenne's mental stability became a major concern. A severe car accident in Tahiti in 1989 left her physically scarred. Her behavior grew more erratic afterward, with reports of continued drug use during pregnancy. Cheyenne's mental health spiraled downward after her brother's conviction. She tried to take her own life twice before she died by suicide in 1995. These tragedies drove Brando into isolation for his remaining years. He died in July 2004 at age 80, just 3 months before his Superman co-star Christopher Reeve. These supporting cast members' stories added more chapters to the growing legend of Superman actors' deaths and misfortunes. The curse's apparent influence stretched beyond those who played the main role. Behind-the-scenes figures also fall victim. Actors are not the only people who are affected by the Superman curse. Creators, animators, and production crew members who have never displayed their work on screen are afflicted by the curse. Following the sale of their renowned character, the creators of Superman were forced to endure decades of financial struggle. When Detective Comics purchased all of the rights to Superman in 1938, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster made a deal with them for only $130. As they saw other people gain riches from their idea, this decision turned out to be a regret that would last a lifetime. The two individuals filed a lawsuit against National Comics Publications DC's predecessor in 1947 for the rights to Superman and Superboy. After the first court processes, they reached an out-of-court settlement for the amount of $94,013.17. In the long run, the money from the settlement did not give any security. As the 1950s progressed, Shuster's eyesight began to fail. The job of a delivery man was required of him. It is said that he brought a delivery to the building in Washington, D.C., which caused the employees to feel uncomfortable. Jerry Robinson, a legendary figure in the world of comic books, revealed that the CEO summoned Shuster in, gave him $100, and instructed him to buy a new coat and find another job. In 1976, Warner Communications brought back their byline, which resulted in a substantial turnaround in the pair's fortunes. Additionally, they were eligible for health benefits and earned lifelong pensions of $20,000 each year. Before Shuster passed away in 1992 and Siegel in 1996, both creators devoted the most of their lives to the struggle for popularity and recognition. Following the production of the first animated cartoons featuring Superman in the early 1940s, the Fleischer brothers were subjected to their very own version of the Superman curse. At first, they wanted nothing to do with the initiative. In the hopes that the company would back off, the brothers estimated that each episode would cost Paramount $100,000. In spite of the fact that they later negotiated a lower price, Paramount astonished them by agreeing to the terms. As the project proceeded, Max and Dave Fleischer's friendship began to deteriorate severely. By late 1941, they were unable to collaborate effectively. In order to force the brothers out of their firm, Paramount took advantage of this opportunity. Max's career never recovered, despite the fact that the studio eventually became Famous Studios. In spite of his brilliant career, he only produced 5 more projects before passing away in poverty in a charity hospital serving the film industry in 1972. It would appear that the Superman curse is still alive today. In the course of the creation of the Superman Returns DVD, 3 members of the team had unusual mishaps. Another member of the team was assaulted and robbed, while a third member crashed through a glass window. One of the crew members tumbled down the steps. My DVD crew absorbed the curse for us, director Bryan Singer said in response to these unfortunate occurrences, expressing his gloomy view. It was his statements that hinted that their misfortune could have shielded the main characters of the movie from the ill effects of the Superman curse. These behind-the-scenes tragedies provide light on a different aspect of the purported curse. Everyone who is working on Superman projects, regardless of their function, is at risk of being affected by the curse. Modern Superman actors challenge the curse. Recent actors who have played Superman appear to have liberated themselves from the Superman curse, and many of them have flourished after donning the famous cape. In contrast to their predecessors, these performers have managed to avoid the fatal outcomes that plagued them. After playing the part of Man of Steel in the DC Extended Universe, Henry Cavill has been able to maintain a successful career in the entertainment industry. He collaborated with filmmaker Guy Ritchie on the production of The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare in April of 2024. Amazon Studios has announced that Henry Cavill would be featured in forthcoming Warhammer 40,000 World projects as both an executive producer and a prominent actor. After a meeting with the new executives of DC Studios, James Gunn and Peter Safran, his journey as Superman came to an end. Cavill's career is still going strong, as seen by his involvement in important productions such as the spy picture Argylle, directed by Matthew Vaughn. On the television show Smallville, Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent for 11 seasons, dismissed any idea that the curse existed. First of all, the whole curse thing never occurred to me. It was with parts in Lucifer and a probable appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths that he made steady progress in his career. Tyler Hoechlin's portrayal of Superman in Superman and Lois appears to be free of any curse-related complications. His portrayal was hailed as the perfect modern update of the character by the reviewers. The death of Superman is one of the famous tales that have been brought to life by the program. For example, supporting his wife through cancer treatment is one of the personal obstacles that Hoechlin Superman faces in addition to his heroic responsibilities. As a result of the failure of Superman Returns 2006 to create a franchise, Brandon Routh had difficulties in his professional life. It was until he joined DC Projects as the Atom in Legends of Tomorrow that his fortunes began to turn around. It was in 2019's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that he was given another opportunity to reprise the role of Superman. The emotional wound or scar that was left by my experience on Superman Returns was mostly healed. He said, referring to the encounter that helped him heal. The fact that this turned out well provides evidence that the curse may be beginning to lose its hold on modern times. Skeptics offer rational explanations for the curse. Many industry professionals and cultural analysts don't buy into the Superman curse, seeing it as mere coincidence with logical explanations. They point to several reasons that make more sense than supernatural theories. The truth behind many Curse of Superman cases is much simpler: actors can't escape typecasting. One industry documentary suggests the actual curse might just be an actor becoming synonymous with a character. Actors face immense pressure as they try to break free from their superhero persona. This works just like in the Bond girl curse, where actresses struggle to shed their sex symbol image. Superman stands as the ultimate symbol of moral goodness and strength. Audiences find it hard to accept these actors in different roles. These performers end up subsumed by the sheer size of the symbol they represent. The Superman curse shows simple probability at work rather than supernatural forces. The math makes sense. The high number of people involved in the many adaptations and treatments of the Superman story over the years means some tragedies would naturally occur as they would in any substantial sampling of random individuals. This view acknowledges these tragic events while explaining them through rational statistical likelihood. The sheer number of cast members across productions spanning decades means some will face unfortunate circumstances. Margot Kidder, Lois Lane opposite Christopher Reeve, called the cursed Superman concept newspaper-created rubbish. She raised a valid point. What about the luck of Superman? Why don't people focus on that? Dean Cain dismissed it outright. There is no such thing as a Superman curse or any of that silliness. Henry Cavill shared this skepticism with Collider. "I honestly don't believe there's a curse. I think there's been some bad luck in the past. There's bad luck, but I don't think it's any curse." These statements show how media outlets cherry-pick tragedies over successes. They create compelling stories through pattern-seeking instead of objective analysis. Our brains tend to find patterns even in coincidences, especially when stories keep reinforcing them. The so-called Superman curse continues to fascinate fans today because it blends tragedy superstition and Hollywood mystique in a way that feels eerily compelling. The idea that a string of misfortunes has followed those associated with portraying or producing Superman, especially in live-action adaptations, touches on something deeper than just coincidence. It plays into our collective fascination with destiny, fame, and the fragile line between heroism on screen and human vulnerability in real life. The narrative of the curse begins with George Reeves, then comes Christopher Reeve. Other associations added fuel: Margot Kidder, Richard Pryor. Even more recently, Henry Cavill, while not experiencing personal tragedy, saw multiple disruptions and uncertainty in his run as Superman, with casting changes and studio shakeups that left fans speculating about the role's burden. Part of what keeps the myth alive is how Superman himself symbolizes invulnerability, hope, and strength. When those who portray him encounter real-life struggles, it creates a jarring contrast. It feels as if embodying such a pure and powerful icon comes with a strange unseen cost. Of course, skeptics argue that the so-called curse is nothing more than a series of coincidences. Hollywood careers are often turbulent and tragedies are sadly common. But the curse persists in cultural imagination because it reads like a modern myth, a reminder that even those who play gods can suffer very human fates. In the end, the Superman curse captivates because it blends the legendary with the real. It makes us wonder not just about the price of fame, but about how closely art and life can collide in the ways that feel almost supernatural. Christopher Reeve redefined what it meant to be Superman, not with superpowers, but with a super heart. The curse. It never stood a chance against the power of purpose. If you were inspired by Christopher Reeve's story, leave a comment below. Do you believe in the Superman curse, or has the myth finally been broken? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more powerful stories behind the legends. He couldn't fly anymore, but he still lifted the world.